everybody. Welcome to your capital. What's up? I'm Chuck Wiger, your area state senator. Thank you very much for watching. Today we're going to meet with Craig Spreiter. He's a teacher at Tartan High School, active in so many students' lives. He is the advisor for the Distributive Education Club of America, DECA, very active with the credit union, student run. There's so many things, you've touched so many lives, and thank you for joining us, Craig.
Thank you, Senator.
You've been with District 622 for almost 2 decades, and I knew you when I actually, you grew up in the North St. Paul area, as I recall.
Yes.
So, we're going to talk about the student programs that you have made a great impact, but tell us first just about growing up and then what inspired you to become a teacher. So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in North St. Paul, just down the road from Cowan Elementary.
Okay.
So I was there when you were building your infamous rock house in North St. Paul.
Yes.
Went to Cowan, went to Maplewood, went to North St. Paul High School. And then when I graduated, I knew when I graduated I was going to go into sales. I had no doubt in my mind I was going to work for Pillsbury at the time.
Was there a favorite memory just growing up in North St. Paul? Going to the schools.
We used to run through the stream behind Cowan School and collect crayfish.
Yes.
And we would sell the crayfish to the owner of Newman's Bar and Restaurant, and he'd feed them to the bullfrogs in the front window all the time.
Yes, the oldest bar in Minnesota.
Yep.
And so you helped feed those giant frogs.
Yes. We would collect night crawlers and sell them to him, and then we'd go straight down the road to the Ben Franklin store and spend it on candy.
Okay.
So I loved that. When I
Crowell's was still open when I was growing up, so for a penny you could get 3 pieces actually. For anyone still around that remembers those days.
Yep, it was. I remember a quarter could go quite a ways there.
Yeah.
So, and then when I grew up in North St. Paul, just west of Margaret Street was all field and forest. So we really got to experience. It wasn't big city living at all. It felt more like a small town, and so that kind of shaped who I was and all of that. And
so it's similar for me. I grew up in North St. Paul as well, but not too far from where Target and that whole establishment, but that was all woods back then, and so that would be the area where we might see crayfish and more.
Yes.
And have our own entrepreneurial ways of making a few extra bucks.
So I was a salesman from a very young age.
Yes. Very good.
From there, Stan Rosen was my DECA teacher at North High School, and he was probably the biggest influence on...
Stan Rosen, superstar, like you now.
Yeah.
But Stan touched so many people, and viewers may know I served on the school board for a number of years, and I just remembered all what Stan had done in reaching students, and so he touched you.
Yeah, his biggest lesson to me was if you're going to do it with passion, do it with enthusiasm, and even far into his retirement now, he continues to build a business based around that same 2 principles. So know what you know, but do it with passion. So don't shortchange anybody.
Yeah.
So
you at North High, you eventually graduate, and what was your mission then at that point?
To go into sales.
Okay.
I wanted to be a salesperson. I wanted to make my millions doing that, with the goal of getting into teaching in my 40s when I felt I knew what I knew and could pay back. So I went through college with that in mind.
Where'd you go?
St. Cloud State.
Good.
And graduated from there with a degree in marketing and speech communication, and worked for a bottled water company that's pretty big in the Midwest area now, and worked for a training company that taught sales training to corporations. And then that's kind of where I felt like, I don't want to hold off on the teaching part. I like the training, I like the education side. So I went to the University of Minnesota and enrolled in their master's program for education, and got into Sauk Rapids High School, which is the largest DECA program in the state.
Yes.
Still one of the biggest, and spent a great year up there. And when I found out the position was opening at Tartan, I pulled every string, every connection, every part of my network that could open.
Where were you living at that point?
I was living in St. Cloud.
Okay. So
just
you learned about it, was it just online, or did you have any insight?
Yep, I knew several teachers at Tartan, and knew that the gentleman was not going to be returning.
Yeah.
So I actually resigned my position at Sauk Rapids High School in January with a 4.5-month notice,
Yeah.
and told them, love it, but I'm going to put all my focus on getting that job at Tartan.
Okay.
Probably not the best advice to leave a job before you have one in hand, but I was that confident.
You were determined,
Yeah.
on a mission,
I knew that's where I wanted to be.
passion.
So, yeah.
And so you got the job.
Got the job, and it was funny. The day Dr. Lopetsky hired me, he said, now I need you to ask your niece and your mom and all your friends to stop bugging me. You've got the job, so enjoy it, but tell them that they don't need to be asking me about you anymore.
Okay.
So I took that as a good sign.
Yeah. So you're hired and with passion, and this is, your ultimate, this was your vision, that you wanted to inspire students, particularly in the sales and the marketing.
Yeah.
Nothing better than the DECA model. Tell us about DECA.
I was in DECA when I was in 10th grade, so I go back a long ways with it. You referred to it as Distributive Education Clubs of America.
Yes.
It changed the focus from more of the distribution side of business to marketing and management, entrepreneurship, and hospitality, probably in the early to mid-90s. And so the whole focus of DECA is, how do we prepare students who have a skill set or an aptitude for management, entrepreneurship, the communication side of business, where so much seems to happen.
Yes.
And getting kids hooked into that, allowing them an opportunity to earn high school credit by having a job in an approved field, which would be marketing or management related, which is pretty broad. We have a school-based store that the students learn business operations and management, inventory control and things like that. And then the reason I wanted to be a DECA teacher were the competitive events at the district, state, and international level.
Yes.
So they put it all on the line in front of a judge and hope to rise to the top.
This is a very external position where you're dealing with many area employers.
Yep.
And what a great opportunity to bridge that, the experience in high school with a job, a stepping stone for a career.
Yes.
And you do that and touch so many lives.
Yeah.
I'd like to give some examples of students that you have to give their names necessarily, but just of how they've been involved in the program, and then what's the path after.
Well, I've got students that are in marketing education. I've got students that are still working at 3M at Ideal Credit Union, which I'll talk about a little bit as well. Realtors in our area. I've got a pretty strong network of former students that stay in touch, and they come back and give back to the current DECA students and things like that. Yes. But one of our first employers that I developed a strong relationship was Ideal Credit Union. They were referred to as Postal Credit Union when I started. Yes. But placing students there as tellers, and so they would work after school, weekends, and things like that. And then that turned into some projects that students wanted to do for public relations and teachings. They called it a Bucky Bear program and the Young Achievers program on how to build financial literacy skills at a young age. So we started working with them, that was probably in 2002 or 4, and just continued that relationship. And probably one of my proudest accomplishments about 4 years ago was the opening of a student-based credit union branch for Ideal Credit Union.
Yes, one of the first in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so, tell us about that. A lot of discussion that students learn financial literacy. They've got the credit union right there.
Yep.
So tell us about it's been a few years,
It's been
very successful.
Yep, we just wrapped up our 3rd year with it. It was the second student-based credit union in Minnesota. The first was opened in a high school in Owatonna and supported with the DECA program. Ours is the first student-run credit union where the students are there on staff. The students are the ones that are doing all of the account member services.
And students have an account, was it $5 or
$1 to put it into a
Okay.
shared savings account, and that buys you a share ownership of the credit union.
Okay.
As you know, credit unions are member owned and member supported, so you need $1 in a savings account, and then that opens up that entire relationship with the credit union.
Okay.
That was very cool. The approach that I really wanted to take, though, was I want these students to be employees, but I want them to be doing something with their peers.
Yes.
So we developed a Money Talks program, and my students now, as employees of Ideal Credit Union, are teaching their peers financial literacy skills through 3-week seminars and workshops that are held 3 times a year. And a student that completes the course and passes the exam gets $100 into their savings account to then ideally start their blueprint for, now what do I do with this money?
$100.
So how do I put this into practice?
How many students are taking advantage of that?
We've had close to 250 now, so $25,000 so far has been paid out to students.
Great.
And that has nothing to do with Tartan or DECA. It was the Minnesota Credit Union Network originally gave us a grant. I believe it was for $5,000. And then Ideal Credit Union loved it so much that their foundational, their nonprofit side decided to take that on. That's one of their ongoing fundraisers each year.
Have you tracked then how that $100 is being used?
I would love to. I don't have access to the kind of information.
Yeah,
but
students sharing, I mean, you know, that's just very inspirational, a launch for, you know, even further advancing the objectives.
Yeah,
so, but
I can tell you that a lot of brothers and sisters take Money Talks now because an older sibling is taking it.
Yes.
So I know that they're talking about it, and I know the parents love it.
Yes. So yeah, the relationship with the credit union has just been outstanding, and had so much positive feedback about that. So, well done.
Yeah, thank you. And then you had asked about the other success stories with the partnerships. It's a great way to stay engaged as a teacher.
Yes.
I don't get stuck in a classroom, and I do have some freedom and ability to move around and develop those partnerships. But those DECA students of mine put together ad campaigns for local businesses that just move into Oakdale to help them get the word out. And we do research projects for businesses for their marketing problems and things like that. We're always looking for a way to give the community something, so that if we then, which often happens in education, have to ask them for support, we've already established a relationship where we're giving them something first. So that's kind of how I've modeled our DECA chapter over the 18 years that I've been at Tartan. So we want it to be win-win. We don't want to just keep asking and taking. So what can we give back to you that will improve your business?
Well, you certainly are doing that, and you mentioned the competitions then, where you go with other schools, programs, and I believe Tartan has done quite well.
We have a very good reputation in the state. North St. Paul and Tartan are probably 2 of the strongest chapters.
Again, Stan Rosen having done so much, maybe we could even call him a mentor of you, or
very much
someone who inspired you. But through North High, but it's just become an important part of the district in terms of what it does, and other schools, providing it. It's a win-win.
Yes.
For students, employers, parents, everybody. But you've been recognized many times through the state, and most importantly for the students.
Yeah, and it's the students generate that, and it's a proud moment when I get recognition for something, but it's the students that drive that. And if the students weren't being successful at it, then nobody would have heard about Craig Spreiter or about our credit union, or we probably wouldn't have that. So a lot of credit goes to the students committing to what this vision is and buying in, and that gets harder and harder as the generations change. They don't always reflect what you grew up with, so you have to keep them connected and find ways to keep them engaged. And I think DECA is a great tool to do that, and I think as long as they let me continue that at Tartan, I'll stay at Tartan and continue to do that.
Good. So, in the next 5 years, let's project that far out. Some additional things that you might want to do, just maintaining the great program you have is very laudable. But any additional things that you might be looking at that you'd like to share?
Yeah, one of the things that's been on my radar for a while, college in the schools, CIS is pretty popular and gaining a lot of recognition. Most of those are tied to the University of Minnesota, and not a lot of kids go to the University of Minnesota. A lot of kids go to the University of Minnesota, but there's so many other options.
For viewers, this is where you can earn academic credits. It's very rigorous, it's high level, partnership with the U, where you earn college credits and you can stay right at your high school.
Yeah, that classroom becomes an extension of the classroom at the
Yes.
U.
And it's a partnership where, the teachers, it's not, totally foreign from what you're doing as a staffer. You work together. You're trained
Yes.
at the university, as I understand it.
Yep.
You go through a training program, and I've been very supportive of these types of initiatives. So you'd like to
Well,
do
they
some
don't have a
expansion
program.
for the college and the schools,
Yes.
which, North High, and well, a number of, districts have, but, it just depends on, what the particular school wants to do. So you'd like to do the college and the schools?
Well, we have college
for-
and schools in both, in our whole district, but the University of Minnesota has nothing that ties in with business or marketing or
business.
management. Yeah.
Right, and so you would like to see, for business management.
Yes.
And I would think Carlson School, and there would be just a great relationship, and
Yep, and we're actually pursuing it.
3M in your backyard,
Yeah.
I think so.
We're pursuing it with Century College. They've had some conversations, and we're trying to move forward with what would be termed from their perspective dual enrollment at
Yes.
Century College.
Okay,
And Century College actually already has an established business and management pathway,
Okay.
as well as a digital and technology pathway. So there's 2 or 3 good directions that we could go through our business department and Century, and then those credits would be right there waiting for them,
Yes.
just like a CIS program with the University of Minnesota would be. And then ideally, they finish that pathway at Century that first or second year out of high school.
that
So
would
they're
be
completing 4
great.
years of school,
Yes.
two while they're at Tartan, and then 1 or 2 at Century.
And more and more people are becoming aware that it's not only less time, it's less money. And it's a win-win where you can get that career objective early on. You just have to have that ambition and attitude. And as you said earlier, you've got to know what you want to know and have
Yeah.
that passion, and it's there for you. And
Yep.
so the fact that you want to expand with some additional opportunities is very consistent with what you've done in the
Yeah.
past.
Well, you need a pathway. If I often think that I can't speak for all high schools or districts, but our schools are built more like a triangle, where at the 9th grade level they have very little options for elective credits. You have to take this, you have to take this, you have to take this. Well, by their junior year, toward the end, then they have time to then explore. Do I want to get into business? Do I want to take some art credits? Do I want to get
Yeah.
into the IT area, or any of those other elective areas? And then you get them as a senior and they think, oh, I love advertising. I wish I would have done this in 9th grade,
Yeah.
and then followed a pathway all the way through.
Yeah.
And if we could just flip that and take out some of those 9th grade requirements, or some requirements, and let students explore 9th
Yeah.
grade and then hone in on that pathway.
Yes.
And that's why I'm intrigued by this dual enrollment with Century. It would allow us to start that then as early as 10th grade,
Yes.
and then they can follow
10th
that all
grade,
the way
yeah.
through. I think a 9th grader could take a prereq,
Yeah.
which they often do already at Tartan, but.
Well,
there's
I'm
just
sure
so
you're
many
going to get it
options.
accomplished, and whatever we can do to help on that, and providing choices, options for students to advance to college career ready. That's our mutual objective, so
Yeah,
we should
and there's a lot of
continue
ways we can
success.
do it, so
Right.
we just need to do it.
Well, you're very busy. Anything about personally what you do to unwind and all that?
Well, I'll be starting daddy daycare in a few days here. We've got a 4 and a 7-year-old at home, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So soccer practice starts already next week, and my soon-to-be 2nd grader is already excited to start summer school next week, so.
Great.
I'll just load up the minivan every day and take care of those kids, which that's all the recharging I often need.
Good.
So,
Well, Craig Spreiter, thank you so much for being a teacher, for inspiring other students, for being a great partner with so many of the area businesses and other nonprofits. You're making a big difference.
I
And we
appreciate it.
encourage people to contact you, maybe by way of Tartan, go to the website and to share ideas. They want to learn more about the credit union, different opportunities. I know that you're all about sharing and caring.
Yep,
So,
sure.
thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Senator. Pleasure to be here.
This is such a pleasure when we can share these types of success stories, and I thank Craig for doing that today and for his service. Viewers, if you have questions of me, or comments, please give me a call. My cell phone is 651-770-0283. With teacher Craig Spreiter, I'm Chuck Wiger. Thank you very much for watching.